conversations around SASE are increasing every day. We need to figure out how we can secure the new environment that we have post-COVID, where we pushed everything out into the cloud, moved our workers into a remote work environment, and now we have to circle back and ensure that our security posture is up to par. Now, what most people have done is just leverage the security elements and services that are available in the native cloud platforms that they've moved to. And those are fine, those are good. We'll talk a little bit about why those are fine and good but not sufficient in just a moment. CASB is a way of securing those cloud environments in a unified, holistic fashion, and creates a great opportunity for you to build your SASE strategy. Hi, I'm Steve Murphy. I'm a Vice President at ARG, and while I work for ARG, this video is my own and doesn't necessarily reflect the views of my employer. From an outliner overview, we're going to quickly review what the SASE framework is, and then we're going to talk about why CASB is necessary today, specifically around some cloud workflows that would need to be addressed. We're going to review how a CASB works, talk about CASB benefits, and then we're going to talk about some ancillary benefits in terms of policy enforcement. As a quick overview of SASE, SASE is all about delivering a secure work posture to your employee base no matter where they are, no matter what device they're using or how they're accessing the network. There are two main categories that create the SASE framework. The first is network as a service, and the second is security as a service. So network as a service includes things like carrier services, SD-WAN, managed access. And security as a service includes cloud-based firewall services, SWGs or secure web gateways, cloud access security brokers, zero trust networking, and on down the list you can see. We're focused on cloud access security brokers here as a fundamental platform upon which you can build your SASE strategy. I'm putting a link in this video to a more detailed overview of what SASE is. If you want to get a better understanding of the SASE environment, feel free to check that out at your convenience. When we talk about why we need a CASB, we have to talk about the fact that we are now in a cloud-first environment. Organizations are moving everything out to the cloud. In fact, I work with clients every day who have moved everything but maybe a domain controller and their print servers out into the cloud. And so their firewalls are not protecting much at all today, but their cloud-based services are where the organization is producing all of their value. So today, what organizations are still doing is pushing everything through that firewall or central security stack in their data center. It creates a lot of inefficiencies, not only network inefficiencies and cost inefficiencies, but end user experience inefficiencies by hairpinning traffic through a central security platform. CASB is a direct to the cloud enabler and allows you to leverage the full benefits of that cloud experience. It also helps with data governance and compliance, which is increasingly important in giving all the data privacy acts and, in many cases, data secrecy that's becoming paramount in a cloud-first environment. Lastly, there's some unique risks presented by the new cloud environment that CASB protects us from, specifically end-user behavior and how we can monitor and control and audit that behavior of end users to ensure that they are not doing anything that's risky outside of our core data center type of environment. So let's talk about some of those workflows that can present risk in our organization. So there are some specific challenges that are presented by a cloud-first strategy. Since the production environment is located outside of the core data center, visibility in terms of who's sharing, copying, editing, accessing, deleting, moving data becomes a challenge. Applications are managed by third parties, and that means that you don't have all the control and visibility that you used to have within your own environment. The security provided by the cloud environments, while good, is inconsistent, so you have individual security postures for every cloud environment that you're accessing if you're using those individualized security features. And there's a potential, in my view, for a massive exploit. When the bad guys finally find a vulnerability in one of those cloud service providers, there's an opportunity to massively exploit that vulnerability beyond what we've seen in the past. So having another layer of protection in terms of using a CASB, for example, is a really smart way of ensuring that a single exploit within an AWS environment, for example, doesn't turn into a disaster for your organization. And then lastly, I'll mention again the personal risk that's associated with the cloud environment. As companies reorient themselves to support work from home over the long term, our personal activities and our business activities will intermingle and how we interoperate with our cloud platforms. Someone could be on Facebook or in their Dropbox account 1 minute and be working in a corporate environment or corporate work product the other minute, and they might work back and forth between those platforms on a regular basis, much more so than they used to do within an office environment. So what is a CASB, and how does it help us fix all of those needs? So first of all, at a very high level, a CASB is an intermediary between a cloud environment and the user. It works with all your platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, and SaaS as a service environments. And the key pillars of a CASB include things like access control, data protection, threat protection, and visibility and policy management. These are all the capabilities that you've worked so hard to deploy within your own private environment. Now we have to make sure that those same capabilities are available to you in your new cloud environments. There are 3 deployment models for CASB services, and the product that you ultimately purchase for your organization should support all 3. So the first and easiest one is an API deployment model, where there is custom code written between the CASB and the particular application that you want to access that facilitates the exchange of information. Now there's a significant drawback too, actually, for the API method. Number one, APIs aren't necessarily written for every application your organization might need. So you may have to get some custom development done, or you may have to find an alternative. And the alternatives may be one of the other 2 deployment methods. The next downside of an API model is that it is not real-time. It is out-of-band signaling to the CASB service, and that out-of-band signaling is generally processed within seconds, but sometimes within minutes, and that may not be a sufficient response time for your security policies. So the second deployment method that's really most common is an agent-based CASB deployment method, putting an agent on a managed endpoint to allow the CASB platform to communicate with that endpoint and provide permissions and access control and all the other policy enforcements before that endpoint accesses the particular application or cloud environment. The third deployment model is an agentless deployment. This is designed for non-managed, non-controlled computers where someone may be using their personal device, a home-based computer, a cell phone, a tablet that isn't owned and operated by the organization. So putting an agent on those devices would potentially violate confidentiality and privacy regulations of the organization and maybe even of the particular governments or jurisdictions that you're operating under. So the agentless deployment model relies on a reverse proxy. The person on their home computer, for example, approaches the cloud-based environment, attempts to log in. That cloud-based environment identifies that user as attempting to log in from a non-protected device. It will reverse that flow to the CASB platform, establish the appropriate authentications, and establish the appropriate policies for that non-managed device, and then either grant access or deny access based upon those policies. I just mentioned one of the big benefits of CASB, access control. CASBs can control how users access your cloud-based environments and establish specific policies around those access attempts based upon the state of that user. You also get visibility, what is being accessed by whom, where are they accessing the information, and what was the security posture of that application or cloud environment when that information was accessed. You get data control. You can control who is copying or downloading data, who is uploading data, who's deleting data, and whether or not those files can be copied, downloaded, uploaded, or deleted in general. You get behavioral monitoring. So someone accessing the network from an IP address that hasn't been used before at a different time than is normal. You can establish different policies and access procedures for people who are accessing outside of their normal behavioral profile. Governance is one of the big elements of CASB. You can report, not only control, but you can report on who is accessing data and determine whether or not those people had sufficient rights and reason to access that information, and then generate the required compliance reports. And then lastly, most CASBs have a pretty strong encryption capability to allow you to protect your data as well. So we've talked a lot about some of the benefits of CASB. I'm not going to spend too much time here on the policy advantages. These are the ability to establish policies around most of those benefits that I just described. But data loss prevention is one of those areas that I think CASB really provides significant advantages that aren't necessarily recognized in real time. Being able to control who is downloading information, who is uploading information into private cloud environments like their own personal Dropbox account, or sharing information on Facebook or on LinkedIn and so forth, is one of the key elements of a CASB that doesn't get talked a lot about. Being able to control how your users are using their own personal cloud resources, especially on managed devices, is a critical advantage of CASB. In terms of next steps, if you're interested in what a CASB can do for your organization, feel free to reach out. My contact information is in the description of this video. I'm happy to have a conversation at any time. And then if you got some value out of this video, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up. Thanks in advance for doing that. And if you want to come back to this channel, the best way of being able to find your way back here is by clicking that subscribe button. That will put my channel in your feed and allow you to return at your convenience. With that, I appreciate your time, and I hope you have a great day.